Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Ariel Lyons Warren. I am an instructor in child neurology at Baylor College of Medicine, Texas Children's Hospital, and the chair of the Resident and Fellow Section Mentored Review Program at the Journal of Neurology. When I assumed leadership of the program in 2020, I took several steps to formalize the program, including adding structured materials for participants and began collecting pre- and post-program data. I am delighted to be here today to share with you the results of our study, assessing the impact of a structured and mentored peer review curriculum on the quality of peer review. As I'm sure many of you are aware, reviewers report feeling overburdened. In this recent 2021 study by Severin and Chataway, they interviewed early, mid, and senior career scientists to understand perceptions of review burden. Their study showed that reviewers felt this burden came from unequal distribution of the work, meaning there aren't enough reviewers. One method to overcome this barrier is to teach peer review to more people through mentoring. But is this method actually impactful at improving peer review? In their 2017 study, Wong et al. Compared review quality between a group of neurology residents who received formal peer review mentorship with a control group. They found significant improvement in understanding of research methodology and manuscripts, but no change in the quality of the reviews as measured by the Review Quality Index. For those of you who are not familiar, the Review Quality Index, or RQI, is an 8-question instrument that uses a 1 to 5 Likert scale to assess standard features that make a review good, such as discussing the importance of the research question, discussing originality of the research, strengths and weaknesses of the method, and the other questions are shown on the slide. Wong et al. Attributed their lack of improvement as measured by the RQI to the fact that most of the non-mentored group had independent research mentors, suggesting that access to any mentorship could improve skills in these core areas. For our program, our mentees have very limited review experience, and so we actually added questions to the RQI to better assess all aspects of the review. These additional questions measured structure, including the review to include a summary of the manuscript, separate comments for editors and authors, comments organized by section, and a formal recommendation as to the direction of the manuscript. We also added content questions, which asked if the review evaluated appropriateness of references and the overall tone of the review. Together with the original RQI, we call this the modified RQI. In our study, we first recruit mentors and mentees. Mentors are recruited from known reviewers for the Journal of Neurology, as well as through a blog posting advertising the program. Mentees are adult and pediatric neurology residents who submit an application and are selected based on interest in learning to review, not prior review experience. To date, we have enrolled 44 mentees in the program. Mentors and mentees receive a welcome packet with resources. As well, and the mentees complete a pre-assessment, which includes standardized questions about their experience, prior experience, knowledge of, and confidence in the review process, as well as completing a review of a standardized manuscript without mentor support. To date, we have data from 34 individuals for the pre-assessment. Mentors and mentees then receive their first mentored review, which is done through our journal submission process. Manuscripts selected for review are sent to the mentor and the mentee independently. The mentor and the mentee complete independent review and then meet to discuss the review. The mentor and the mentee can meet, discuss, and edit as many times as they feel is necessary. Ultimately, the mentee submits the review through our journal submission portal. After completion of a mentored review, the mentee completes a survey which collects quantitative data about how many times they met with their mentor and qualitative data that encourages them to think about what they learned. This process is then repeated for a second mentored review. At the end, mentees complete a post-assessment in which they answer the same questions they answered in the pre-assessment, and again, an independent review of a standardized manuscript. Today, I'm going to be presenting data from comparing our pre and post-program standardized manuscript reviews, for which we have data from 18 participants. Here are our cohort data. As you can see, we had 18 mentees and 17 unique mentors, because one of our mentors participated twice. Our mentors overall are more experienced. They review more frequently and read more journals. They tend to be older, and many of them are alumni of our resident fellow section board. Our program showed that review quality objectively improved post-program participation. What you're looking at here is total score on the modified RQI. The maximum possible score is 54. And as you can see, post-program scores in blue are higher than pre-program scores in white, suggesting that overall review quality improved. Notably, we did see some improvement in the structure of the review, including beginning with a summary of the manuscript, including comments for editors that were separate and distinct for comments for authors, and including a formal recommendation to accept or reject. While there was a trend towards comments being organized, this was not significant. We also saw improvement in other aspects of the review, including likelihood of discussing the originality of the paper, identifying strengths and weaknesses of the method, commenting on the interpretation of the results, and the overall quality of the review, which is one of the questions in the original RQI. However, we didn't see improvement in all areas. The topics shown here did not show improvement, and I'd like to draw your attention to commenting on the appropriateness of references, which is something we tried to emphasize, but did not see improvement in. And so we conclude that peer review quality significantly improved for neurology trainees from varied backgrounds following completion of a formal mentored peer review program using a validated metric. We believe, therefore, that structured mentoring is a valuable approach to expand the pool of quality peer reviewers. And I think importantly, through integration with routine review, author experience is not impacted and the burden of teaching review is very manageable. I would like to end by thanking our program participants and peer reviewers, as well as the staff at the Journal of Neurology who do a phenomenal job keeping this program running. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll ask a quick question before we start. Did you, in the standardized manuscripts, include weaknesses or things that you wanted them to be able to detect? It seemed like you were reporting on the quality, on the qualitative issues that they addressed, and not whether they could pick up known flaws.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. So our standardized manuscript is actually a manuscript that was published on bioRxives that we selected when we started this program. So it's actually about COVID. I'm pleased for those authors to report that manuscript was eventually published, and the published version is much better, but we continued to use the bioRxives version, and we selected it because it has deficits in all of the areas that we're looking for. And I think an important point of our methodology is we actually give them the same manuscript. So they independently review that bioRxives manuscript at the beginning of the program and the exact same manuscript at the end. And we don't give them any feedback in between, which they all complain about. And so that we have a direct apples to apples comparison of their reviewability.
Okay. So we have lots of people lined up. We'll start over here.
Okay, thanks. Excellent talk, Nick. I'm Nick Yakubovich, Newcastle University. Just a quick question, and I may have missed it. Did you assess the mentors at all with your
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't. So mentors, I have at any given time, my active mentor pool is about 30 individuals, most of whom are just reviewers for the journal. And again, a large percentage are graduates of the Resident Fellow Board, but we take anybody. And I think that's actually a testament to the impact of the program. You don't have to be a stellar reviewer to be able to improve a mentee's ability to review. I do collect demographic data, so age, years since graduation or completion of training, a number of manuscripts reviewed, years reviewing, and a number of manuscripts submitted. So I collect that kind of quantitative data.
Thanks. It would be interesting just to give them that give them a manuscript and do the assessment for the mentors and just understand variation.
Oh, in the mentor's ability.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever recruited mentors for a program. I think that might be a
too
high
much.
bar.
Okay, Mario over here.
Hi, Mario Malichki, Stanford University. In 2019, the systematic review on the quality of these tools used to assess peer review, which included your tool, even though you modified it, said they were all extremely bad because one of the reasons what they assess is, did they address references or did they make a comment to the editor? If the comment was not made, then the review quality is bad, irregardless of how good the quality of the paper is. So if the all references are good, and there's nothing to comment upon, the review quality instrument says that the review quality is not great because they haven't addressed it. And the other big problem with this is we haven't asked the peer reviewers exactly to comment on these all 8 or 9 items or 10 that are actually that you are being evaluated. So they don't even know that they need to comment on specific things sometimes because it isn't there that they have to write this thing. And so when we don't align the paper quality with the tool quality, it seems that if a reviewer who doesn't have anything to say because he thinks the paper is great, that review would be graded as a very low quality because he didn't say anything about the appropriateness of this or that, because he only said this paper is great. And so that's, can you
Thank
comment
you
on
for
that,
your
please?
question. I have a couple of thoughts. I would say first, you're right. There are a lot of tools out there that measure the quality of a review, and there are strengths and weaknesses of each of them. And we did think about that when we selected the RQI, and it's one of the reasons we modified it to add those additional features. However, I would politely disagree with you that a good review doesn't mention things. So when I write a review, I comment that the references are appropriate or inappropriate, and I let the editor know that I've thought about each of those elements. And in our pre-program materials that we provide to our mentees, we actually provide them with the RQI. We tell them these are the features that a good review has. I don't know how many of them read it and study it, but we provide it. And we also provide, it's a 3-page packet that I actually refine it every cohort, where we talk about what makes a good review and what kinds of elements to include. So we hope that we are teaching them to comment on those different factors, and then we're evaluating them on whether or not they do. But I think it's an excellent point that we do need better tools, because reviewing is important because it's how we assess the literature that changes our world. And so we need good reviewers. We need people who think critically about the manuscripts, and there are many ways to write a good review. But they still need training and guidance as to what's going to be most helpful for the person ultimately making the decision on the manuscript.
Great. So we have 7 minutes for the 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5.
Sorry.
So let's everybody be crisp. So I'm going to skip to Mike to ask for an online question.
Yeah, lots of engagement online. So I'm going to give you a few of the questions and you'll respond to the ones you can remember. Nicole Nugent from the Royal Society of Chemistry asks, how scalable is this approach? Let me see. Memani Bahar from Elsevier asks, can you share the modified RQI for others to use? How do you recognize and reward mentees who review at high quality? And Samantha asks, do you have a component of mentor guidance to ensure that mentors don't have a negative impact on mentees due to power dynamics or other issues, for example, guidance on nonviolent communication and so on?
Yeah, okay, I might need you to repeat some of those. So I'll address scalability first. The current limiting factor is actually me. Being a physician scientist is 2 part-time jobs or 2 full-time jobs. And so our current cohort is 14, and I think that's the max that I can do, because they need a point person they can come to with questions. My reviewer pool is 30, so that's the second limiting factor. But I will say that other programs have told us that they've started implementing similar programs. And so I don't think it's our program needs to scale. I think other journals should implement similar programs.
Share RQI.
Thank you. I would be happy to. My Twitter handle is Dr. Ariel, DrDrAriel, or my email address. I'm easily searchable, Ariel Lyons Warren. There aren't a lot of Lyons Warrens. Just email me and I'm happy to share it.
And recognize and reward really good mentees.
Yeah, so that one I'd love suggestions on. Currently in our editor portal, we have the opportunity to provide feedback to reviewers. And so we try to send emails to resident reviewers when they give particularly good or particularly reviews that need improvement. But no, we really rely on our mentors. I do want to address the last one about guidelines. I think that's an excellent suggestion that I might implement in the next round. Right now, our mentor pool is small enough that I know personally most of them. And so I know that there are people committed to education, but as we scale and continue to grow, my mentor guidelines are how to review. They should probably include that. So I appreciate that suggestion.
We'll go here and everybody be as crisp as possible to give other people space.
Theo Boom from BMJ. As far as I recall, some studies from BMJ from before my time looked at exactly the same question, although more like Steve said, with papers with known flaws and how many did reviewers find before and after training. Saw a similar incremental improvement to yours that evaporated after about 6 months. So do you test again sometime after the mentoring, and is the effect sustained?
I have not looked at that yet. I want to, where our program is just too young at this point.
Thank you. In the back.
Hannah Spungan from UCLA. Thank you so much for this. Quick question. What sort of trial was the sample manuscript, like an RCT or?
Yes, it is. I haven't read it in 2 years. It's about incidents of stroke pre and post COVID at a large hospital. So it's not a controlled trial.
Thank you.
And the second one in the back.
Hi, Ganeet Janda, Yale School of Medicine. So I just have a quick question. Have you thought about implementing this sort of earlier in the training process? Because I know as a medical student myself, like I would have really appreciated just guidance on how to critically evaluate literature.
Yeah, so we have, I will be crisp. We have 2 cohorts. The cohort in the fall includes our oncoming board members and then people who apply for our board who are not accepted, but we think would benefit. And those by definition are individuals with 2 years of residency training remaining. Our cohort in the spring is open to any resident at any stage of training. The reason we do residents and not medical students is because we are the resident and fellow section of neurology. But we, quick plug, we do as an RFS have opportunities for medical students, and really find yourself a mentor. Our data suggests that just having a mentor, even not in our program, is a great way to learn to review.
Last question.
Dr. Lyons-Warren, I'm going to ask about grant peer review, and just to introduce that, I'm Karim Khan from Vancouver in Canada, and I'm from the CHR, the funding agency. So I'm coming at this from grant peer review. So just to introduce the concept, if you can point us to training of grant peer reviewers, that'd be great, but we can do that over coffee. So I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with that. I can tell you that I received mentor training on how to review grants from my mentors. But I think that unlike manuscript peer review, which I think can be done in only 2 manuscripts, grant review takes more time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.